Hi everyone, welcome to the February edition of Quantum Talks. So our topic for today is project management practices at Quantum Mob. I'll explain why I have put this project word within double quotes later in the presentation. And yeah, so we are working on projects, and some of us are managing projects by our own. So it's always good to know the basics, good to have a basic idea about how to manage a project and what we do when it comes to the project management division at Quantum Mob. So this slide is all about formality. So I hope you'll know about me. Like most of you guys know about me. So, but here are three fun facts about me. So first, I have never cooked anything before moving to Canada, but now I consider myself as a decent cook because I can prepare a good meal. And the next fun fact about me is I have watched Friends, The Big Bang Theory, and How I Met Your Mother. I think more than 5 times each, and I think I remember most of the dialogues as well. And lastly, I love to travel to rural places. It could be either overseas or it could be local, but I just love that feeling. So these are three fun facts about me. And now the good stuff. All right, so here's the agenda for today. And of course, since this is your lunchtime, I'm not planning to take a long time to go through this presentation. Roughly, it could be around 30 minutes. But during this presentation, I want you guys to like actively participate. Like if you have any questions, please ask so I can answer those questions. Yeah, let's make this a presentation an interactive one. All right, the first item we are going to discuss today is about definitions. When we work on projects, when we do our day-to-day work, we have tons of passwords, jargons, and yeah. So do we know really what they are, or like what these job titles, job roles do? So we'll be discussing that during this segment. And the next point is the QM way. So we do different things in different ways. So instead of following a pattern, why do we do these different things when it comes to different projects? So we'll be discussing that during this segment. Lastly, it's time for you to ask questions from me. So I have prepared a few questions to get you guys started. And of course, you can ask any questions related to the topic, and I'll try my best to answer them. All right. This is the first point we are going to discuss, which is definitions. Before knowing what we do at QM, we need to understand what we have to do at QM. So I mean, like when it comes to our day-to-day work, when it comes to our day-to-day projects, we hear lots of words about when it comes to project management or product management, and we hear lots of job roles as well. And if you don't know the meaning, if you don't know the responsibilities of those job roles, it could be a little bit difficult for us to do our jobs. So before actually going to know about these definitions about job roles, let's discuss why we need a project or a product person in a project. Um, the first question you have to ask is like, can we run a project without having a project or a product person in a project? Of course you can. If you're working alone, if you're working on a solo project, or if you are working with a small group of people whom you can whom you are very closely working very closely and reach out to them at any time, then of course you can run a project without a project or a product person. But if the team is big and if you have to work with the client, then you should consider having a project or a product person in your team. You might think that we don't need a new person. We can handle those responsibilities within the team itself. The answer is yes, of course you can. You can do that because I have done that in the past. But if you really look into that, you're trying to juggle a lot, and that brings more confusion to the project rather than solving the issues you have. So if you try to do that, the result of this approach could be a bad quality output and a dissatisfied client. Because at the end of the day, you don't have the time to do what you do best because you have to manage a project as well. Project management and product management is an expensive task. It takes a lot of time and effort to do it right. But if you do it right, from planning to execution, everything will be handled perfectly and smoothly. More importantly, the team has the power to do what they do best. Let's go to the next slide. All right. I hope you guys can remember I put project, the word project within double quotes as the title of my presentation. This is the reason for that. So today we will not only be discussing project management, we'll be discussing product management as well. Even though at QM we try to do both of these roles at the same time from by using a single person, it's indeed not the same job role, or it's not the same responsibilities. Let's let's discuss the product management side. In the simplest term, what product management is: strategy. From researching to set the product vision and lay out the product roadmap, everything related to product side comes under the product management. Usually, a product manager acts as the CEO of the project, CEO of the product. So when it comes to whatever the decision related to the product side, the product manager will be responsible for that. The other side of the coin is project management. So if we simply say that the project management is the execution of those strategies. So while the product manager comes up with strategies for the product, the project manager will execute those strategies. From project planning to project timeline planning, and handle everything to stakeholder discussions, requirement discussions, and everything, it will come under the project management department. So since a product manager is acting as CEO of the product, the project manager will act as the COO of the project, Chief Operating Officer. So do you guys have any questions so far? If not, we can move forward and then answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, so let's discuss about the product management team. So when it comes to product management team, so I was checking the chat. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. So in that case, I can answer them as well. So when it comes to product management team, there could be different roles, but there are two main roles you have to have in a product management team. The first one is product manager. So it's pretty straightforward, from laying out the groundwork, from laying out the strategies for the product, and making sure that everything is laid out, everything is well planned. So the product manager is responsible for that. If it's a client project, and then product manager should be able to reach out to the client and basically make him or herself as a copy of client about the way they understand the product. So when you are working on the product, so the product manager will act as the in-house client, as in-house resource person. So that's the responsibility of a product manager. And if the product has multiple key areas or features, it's always recommended to have a product owner for one of those features. So the reason for that is product owner could take the responsibility of that small portion and do in-depth research, in-depth analysis of those features, and then discuss with the product manager to lay out the final goal of the product. And then with those discussions, they can realign and refocus the end goal of this project or of this product. So these are the roles we usually have in a product management team. And next, we have the project management team. Usually a project manager is a person who makes most of the decisions about operations of the project. So it could be resourcing, it could be budgeting, and it could be timelines, whatever which has to do with operations. The project manager is the person who's responsible of that decision. And also, the project manager should have a strong bond with stakeholders and clients to perform these tasks, because the project manager will have to communicate these timeline changes, these budgeting changes, resourcing changes to the stakeholders to approve those changes. And next, we have the role of a business analyst. Business analyst is a person who handles most of the client interactions. So when you're working on a project, you might have experienced that client is reaching out to you with some changes, with some clarifications, So it's a little bit difficult to work on a project if you don't have a dedicated person to handle those communication. So the business analyst will come and act that role. So the business analyst, what basically does is like finalize all the requirements, finalize all the documentation for the requirements, and make sure that all the communications will go through the business analyst. So if the project manager is taking a meeting with the client, it's always recommended to have the business analyst in that meeting, so the business analyst will have an overall idea about the project. And the last role in this project management department is project coordinator. Usually, we consider this role as the entry point for the project management department. So what a project coordinator usually does is he or she is responsible for everything else other than what the project manager and the project analyst does. So it's a bit task heavy role, from making sure that the project team has everything from testing devices and whatnot, like from everything, to perform a regular health check with the team and report back to the project manager. The project coordinator is an essential part of a project team, but yes, sometimes there are projects we usually don't have project coordinators, because when you come like in that kind of a situation, the project manager role is a bit hands-on project. All right, so we've discussed roles in product management team as well as project management team, but there's this one role which does not belong to any of those departments. The Scrum Master role belongs to the project team. So there's a really important job role, because the Scrum Master has to make sure that every cogwheel in the engine is well oiled, well maintained, so the car will move forward without any issues. So whenever the team has anything to clarify, whenever the team has any internal issues, the team will raise it with the Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master will take necessary actions then and there, and if needed, the Scrum Master will escalate it to the relevant parties. So the reason why I consider Scrum Master role as a part of the project team is that Scrum Master is the person who's always defending the project team with any of the issues with the clients, product team, or the project team. All right. So far, we've been discussing about all the definitions, all the job roles in the industry, and what those job roles do. And now we are going to move to the QM way. Why we do things the way we do instead of a predefined way. A famous writer Jackson Brown Jr. once said, when you can't change the direction of the wind, adjust your sails. So it's the same with project management as well. Like if you don't have a control over the client's project, we have to do some changes from our end to make sure that everything runs smoothly. All right. So at QM, we deal with two types of clients. And the corporate clients are very process oriented. They already have existing processes and projects, and QM is only taking part in a smaller portion of that. So when it comes to working with corporate clients, we have to adapt to their project and product management practices. But if there are areas we can recommend to improve, we will more likely do that. So as an example, as few examples for corporate clients, I've mentioned it in the slide. So, the next type is startup and small to medium clients, small to medium sized companies. Most of the time, they don't have any existing processes, and sometimes they don't have any existing products as well. Usually, they come to us with an idea and expecting us to make it a reality, make it a product. So that's where we get the chance to flex our product muscle. So we will do everything from product planning to product design to execution, and we will finalize the roadmap until the delivery. So that's the startups, small to medium sized clients, and we take two different approaches when we are dealing with these type of clients. All right, so we have a secret formula, but unfortunately, I will not go in detail on this slide because this is still a work in progress. So what we have to do is like, as I said, we are not going to like practice predefined job roles. What we have to do is like we have to accommodate whatever the clients request. So the idea is that let's say if a client is coming up with a requirement to like do something, like if they want to have a person in their product or project department, and we analyze the requirement first, and then we recommend a job role, recommend a role to that project. So as an example, let's say if a client wants someone to manage some of the parts in the project while having the ownership of the product at the QM's end. So that's an easy decision. What we usually recommend is a product management role. So in that role, the product manager will have the sole responsibility of the entire product from planning to delivery, while managing day-to-day project management role, like conducting Scrum meet, like conducting documentation, following up with the client, and making sure that the client has all the information, those kind of things. So that's the scenario one. And the second scenario would be, let's say, if the client wants someone to like just to like have like finalize all the documentation, make sure that the requirements are finalized, basically to be a person in between the project team as well as the client's end as a communicator. So when it comes to that situation, we recommend a business analyst to that project, because at that point, a business analyst it could be either business analyst or project manager, but at that time, most likely what a business analyst would do is finalize all the documentation, finalize all the requirements, and making sure that everything is well documented. If you need some, like, I'll be sharing these slides with you, because as I said, like, this formula is still a work in progress. So there could be some changes to this as later on as well. All right. So this is a very important slide. I've briefly explained this earlier as well. Why you should have a P&P, project and a product person, in your team. So first and foremost, it's very easy. You don't have to worry about clients reaching out to you from time to time get updates. So I remember like they were like when I first started working at QM, like one of the main pain points which developer had was like they don't have time to focus on the code, because client is continuously sending messages, continuously requesting updates about the project. Because even though we are sending daily updates, clients might not be satisfied those kind of an update. So if you have a project or a product person in the team, then you don't have to worry about that at all, because one of the main responsibilities of a project or a product person in the team is like handle client interaction. So that's one of the advantages you will get when you have a project or product person in your team. And the next thing is, since all the requirements are finalized ahead of time, there won't be any surprises. And of course, there won't be any confusions while you're working on the project. If there are any change requests, then you'll know, like you'll have enough time to adjust to that, because everything will go through a proper process, from like requesting the change and analyzing the change and analyzing the timeline and then executing the timeline. So you don't have to worry about any of those things if you have a project or a product person in the team. And the third point is, from onboarding to handoff, all the documents will be like in a proper format. Everything will be in a single place and everything will be well documented. So if you need some information, if you need some clarification about the requirements, you can quickly refer the document, because everything will be already there. So this is some, like, back in the days, like this is something which developers used to do, but right now a project or a product person is handling this task as well. The fourth and the fifth point is, if the project is a full product, something we are developing from end to end, when you start working on the product and you start working on the project, everything will be well planned out. Everything will be everything will be written on tickets, and you just have to go through those tickets and get an idea about the product. You don't have to reach out to the client asking for clarifications on said requirements, because everything will be planned ahead of time. And lastly, as I mentioned in the fourth point as well, you don't have to like reach out to the client time to time, because you will spend some time at the beginning of the project to make sure that all the requirements, everything is well thought out, well planned. So these are few of the advantages you'll be getting in your team when you have a project or a product person. All right. So now we are getting to the like in the last few slides of the presentation. And now it's time for you to, like, if you have any questions about anything I've discussed, anything related to this topic, please let me know those questions. So ask those questions right away, so we can like carry on the discussion from that. But to get you guys started, I have a few questions prepared. First thing is, I'm working as a developer, and why should I consider becoming a project or a product person? So this is one of the most common questions. So if you go through all these project management and product management forums online, this is the question you'll get. You'll see this question everywhere. So actually, I can answer this question from my personal experience. Uh, before working as a full-time product or project person, I worked as an engineer. That's how I started my career as an engineer. But at my last employment, I worked as a product engineer and a team lead. So I found that there are areas which I can contribute more when it comes, like, other than the development. I could understand the requirement better. I could break down that requirement into smaller chunks. And when I actually like start working on that, I could see the end goal of that product. So if you feel like you can add value to the organization from different, like if you have this ability, if you think that you can see the end goal of a requirement, like end goal of a product by going through the requirement, and if you feel like you can add value to that, of course consider this path. And but whatever the decision you make, you have to make sure that you are happy with the decision and you are happy with this shift. So if you feel like you can add more to the organization and add more to the project, then of course consider this path. And the second point, and this is also one of the most commonly asked questions, is project management, product management is stressful? I would say yes and no, but if you really know what you're doing, no job is stressful. There could be stressful time when dealing with stakeholders, dealing with clients, but if you can navigate those conversations in a good way and come to make sure that the client is happy with the decisions you make, then I would say you are good to go, because as I said, like whatever you are doing, there's no if you love what you're doing, there's no job is stressful. And lastly, what are the skills I need to make this shift, like from development or quality assurance, or like any other path to project or product management? So I would say it's always good to have a good understanding of any product. Like if you have one documentation, and if you can go through that documentation and familiar yourself with that product, and if you have a good understanding of that, if you are able to like get a good understanding of that product, then that's a really good skill you should have. And also you need to make decisions really quickly. Like with all the information you have, you should be able to like make those quick decisions, and also good communication skills while having a good technical background, because there could be some decisions you have to make, something you have to think about the technical side as well. So if you have that background, then it will be much easier to make those decisions. All right, so those are the questions I have. Now it's time for you guys to ask questions. Chat is open. You can put your questions in the chat, or you guys can ask questions. Ooh. So Seb asked a really good question. What's the most rewarding part of being a product manager? Let me think. So first, like from my experience, the reason why I like personally, I would like to play the product manager role more than the project management role. The reason for that is, like, at the end of a project, you can actually see, like, if you get a full project. So if the client is coming only with an idea, and if you can actually contribute to that idea to make it a reality, like plan everything out. Like, it's, of course, it's not only the product manager who does this, but if you can help, if you can enable the team to like make it a reality, that's the satisfaction. Like for me, that's the biggest satisfaction I have, because if the client is happy with what you deliver, and if the team is happy with the way you work, if the team is happy with everything laid out from end to end, so that's the rewarding part, that's the satisfying part for me personally. And the other thing is, like, more projects you work on, the more experience you gain. So let's say, like, if you compare your first project you worked on as a product or a project person, and then consider the current project you are working on, And you can actually like compare those two areas, because you might have made a lot of mistakes in your first product. And with those experience, you can actually like add those like make sure that the solutions you have found when when you are dealing with those questions at the end at your current project, then you should be able to like make a better solution for the team as well as the client. So to summarize my answer, the most rewarding part is to see an actual project, actual product online at the end of an engagement, because you and your team made something without like from scratch. That I would say that would be the most rewarding part for me. Thanks for that question, sir. And anyone else? I hope I answered that question. All right. What can developers do to make product management role process go smoother? All right. So this is something, I mean, it's a really good question, Kiva. So thanks a lot for that. So when working with project teams, okay, it's like I would give two answers to this question. The first thing is when we are working in the office space, like pre-COVID times. So when it comes to pre-COVID times, the project or the product management person should be a very very friendly person, because he or she has like talked to the teammates like day to day, like it could be project related or it could be non-project related, and just they have to make sure that they have everything they need from the project side, and like if the team is willing from the personal side to have a better understanding about the project team. So that way the project or the product manager. So the question is for product manager. All right. So the management person can actually like take these things into consideration when they're coming up with timelines, when they're coming up with this deliveries, those kind of things. So as an example, let's say that when we are we are actually like planning a project, and the timeline is for that project is 1 month. And if the team members doesn't like, let's say I'm a team member and I'm planning to take 1 week of time off during this timeline. If I didn't communicate that with the product manager or the project manager ahead of time, then it's going to be very difficult to handle that situation, because that's why I said like it could be a very difficult. But when it comes to now COVID times, I know like most of the developers, even personally me, if I'm working as a developer, I don't like to have so many messages, so many updates on my Slack channel. I like to keep it clean. But the most important and most critical thing a team member can do to help a product manager is communication. Make sure that you talk to your product or project manager regularly, give them updates, because at the end of the day, the product or the project manager will make decisions on behalf of the project, on behalf of the project team. If the project or the product team, product manager doesn't have all the information about whatever the thing you guys are working on, then the product or the project manager might make decisions by overlooking the project. Of course, it's a product or a project like P&P person's responsibility is to reach out to the team and get this information. And when you are working on a team, it's always good to like have that solid communication. And also, let's say that if I'm a developer and I've been assigned to work on a Java part, like something related to Java, but Java is not my strong suit. So I should be very open with with my skill set, with my product or the project person. So when it comes to like assigning these responsibilities, then that person is very familiar with what are the skills you are strong with and what are the things you have to improve. So those kind of things. So there's a huge misconception in the industry saying that the product or the project person is in a management role, so they don't understand what the project team is going through. I'm highly against that, because I feel like the project or the product person is a part of the team. So whatever the project or the product person do, that's for the benefit of the project. So I would say what the first and the most important thing a developer can do to make product or project management go smoother is communication. Make sure that you communicate everything related to project related stuff. And if you like, if you like in the current situation, if you need to take some time off, make sure that you communicate that ahead of time. So if we can do that, everything will go really, really smoothly. So Kiva, I hope I answer your question. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah. Uh, So we have another question. When you are managing multiple projects at once, how do you keep track of everything? Isn't that stressful sometimes? And is there a limit how many? Yeah. So yeah, no, thanks for that question. So the question is, I'll speak out loud. When you are managing multiple projects at once, how do you keep track of everything? Isn't that stressful sometimes? And is there a limit of how many Kavindu clones we can have? So to answer this question, I don't like this is something I wouldn't recommend. But when I work, like I usually split my day into different segments. So personally, I work from 8 to 4. So the one of the reasons why I start early is that so I usually like when I start meetings like maybe like let's say if I'm starting meetings around 9 o'clock in the morning, so I have 1 hour ahead of time to plan my entire day. So let's say that like if I'm managing let's say 3 projects, so I have to like I usually have the community like I usually communicate with the account, usually with Seb, on like what kind of a like priority I have to give to these each of these projects. And based on that, I plan my entire day based on that. So let's say I have given to like give 50% priority to one project and 25 to 2 more projects. So based on that priority, I manage my day, I plan my day, and that's how I usually work. And as I said, like if you have some alone time in the morning to plan out the entire day, it's always good. And yes, Jan, it's sometimes it's really stressful, but I would say like for like when you're working with Scrum, it's not easy to plan everything ahead. But I would personally do is like I would personally recommend even as a developer or even as a product or project person, I would usually recommend is like try to plan as much as possible. And there could be some times like you have to give 100% priority to a single project while you have to manage one of your old projects in the side. So when you come to a situation like that, you have to communicate with client and communicate with stakeholders and make sure that they understand you are really busy, and make sure that you schedule meetings, schedule times for said meetings, which works best for both the parties. And again, lastly, like again, what I would like to recommend is like, if you are working as a product or project person, try to start your day a little bit early, because then you'll have some alone time, your time to plan the rest of the day. But if I'm like, let's say my first meeting start at 10 and I'm starting my work hours at 10, then it's going to be a bumpy day. So yes, yeah. So I would say, yes, it's sometimes it's stressful, but if you can like plan your day ahead of time. So personally, I say like every day I try to plan my week, and then I like every morning I replan my day. If you can plan everything on time, then I think you'll be able to like manage like have a smooth sail. I hope I answered that question. Thanks a lot, Jan, for raising that question. Yeah. Anything else? And of course, like you guys have, like if you need further clarifications for these questions, feel free to reach out to me on Slack. Because as I said, like like the best thing a product or a project manager can do is like have a clear enough communication. So then we can discuss these things, and then we can build better practices at QM. All right. So Kim asked a really good question. How does one become a project manager, or what's the route looks like? All right. So I'll give 2 answers to this question. So let's say I'm a fresh graduate. I don't have any prior work experience. I have few internship experience. So the first thing I can do is start working as a project coordinator, because as I said in one of my earlier slides, a project coordinator is a very hands-on role. So you have to run here and there. You have to make sure that you plan all the meetings. You have an idea about like the final requirements, and you have to talk to your project manager regularly. And one of the best thing you can have as a project coordinator is a well-experienced project manager, because as a like if you have a well-experienced project manager as your mentor, and then you'll get a lot from that experience. And then if you feel like when you're working as a project coordinator, you'll get to see what are the other areas you can move on. It could be either product side, it could be business analysis, it could be directly project management. For like if you can work as a project coordinator for let's say 6 months to 12 months, And then you should have a good understanding about the how this project management department works, and then you can pick the relevant side. So if you have a really good communication skill, and if you are really good with people, and if you can like explain things in a way, in a clearer way to the clients, then you can consider business analysis part. And if you are into like a more strategic planning part, if you can get an idea about product side, if you love to like plan products ahead, then of course consider the product management part. And if you're like the operational person, if you like to execute plans, then consider the project management side. So that answer is for someone who's coming to the industry as a fresh graduate or like as a fresher. And the second answer would be for someone who's in the industry for a long time. So this is the path which I took, because I was working, as I mentioned earlier, I was working as an engineer for, I think, seven and a half years before I made this transition to product side. So so from my experience, something I've realized is that if you can like, so there are different types of engineers. There could be just regular developers. You get a ticket, you read the ticket, you just write the relevant code, and you push it to production. That's one type. And the other type would be product engineers. You don't get like a well-written ticket. You just get an idea saying that this is the expected outcome. And then what you do is like you think and you try to come up with a good plan to execute that requirement. And then you will have to like talk to the client to clarify some of these needs. And while doing that, you will improve your client communication and client negotiation skills. And then if you are a senior person, you might have to like talk to your team members to like, if it could be senior or junior person, you have to talk to your team members to find the best approach to take to handle this situation. And then you will be improving your team management skills. And lastly, you have the ability to like write that code and push it to production. So I would say if you are if you are a developer and if you are planning to move into a project or a product management side, what I would recommend is to like first get into a product engineering role where you'll get all this experience while working as an engineer. Because once you're at a point where you feel like, okay, now I'm really good at these things, because and then you can have another person to do this development task while you help that person to like understand the requirement better, then you can fully move into a product or a project management role. So I would say, and when it comes to scales, as I mentioned earlier, it's always good to have a good understanding about product. If you can read through some documentation and get an idea about the product, and then you can maybe like plan the product a little bit better. That's a very good skill to have. And second one would be quick decision making skills. Sorry. So this is something I've been trying to like practice at QM as well. So when a project or a product manager start working on a project, they should have all the information related to the project ahead of time. So they can go through all the existing materials, and whenever they have a question from the client, then they have the ability to make that quick decision. And lastly, this is really important to have good communication skills as well as coming from a technical background, because the product or the project person is the one who's representing the team with the client. So if you have, like, let's say if a client is asking to maybe have a disco ball in the middle of the website, so you have to like, at least you should have the basic understanding of the code base, and to say like this might take some long time, or this is really easy to make that quick decision and take it back to the development team and go back to the client. So I would say like there are different paths to take when it comes to if you're going to step into project management role. So I would say, Kim, if this is a personal question to you, I would say first let's start with a product engineering role, where you'll get the chance to like play all these roles at once while working on the engineering role as well. Again, thanks a lot, Kim, for that question. I hope I answered that as well. All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Good. If not, we can wrap up for today. I'll give you guys 1 more minute. All right. So I'm going to end this presentation with a quote by Joy Combs. Operations keeps the lights on. Strategy, personally, I would say product management provides a light at the end of the tunnel. But project management is the train engine that moves the organization forward. So with that, that's it for today, folks. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll try my best to answer your questions. I hope you got an understanding about how we work at QM when it comes to product and project management department. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks a lot for your time, guys.